Good morning and welcome to the Sports Debate Show. I'm your host, BA, along with host James Martin and Jack Hirsch. Hope you all are doing well this morning. We're going to get right into the debate questions. Of course, first one today is, who was the greatest coach manager who did not win a championship at the highest level of the sport he was involved in? And let's see, I think I'm going to go with Jack on this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's several guys, and you can make an argument if they never won a championship, how great they really are. You never get the actual impact, and a lot has to do with circumstances. A lot has to do with how long of a career they've had. Yeah, you know what I'd say with the NCAA tournament going on, I would have to say Louis Carnesecca, the St. John's coach, and I'm not counting the NIT title that St. John's won under him. Because the NIT title are for the reject teams that didn't make the NCAA tournament. Let's be honest about it. It's okay for a Cinderella type team who, when I say Cinderella type team, meaning who would win the NIT tournament, who would have absolutely no shot at winning the NCAA tournament at all, and really wouldn't have any business even being in the NCAA tournament, but they make it to the NIT tournament and they win it. I can't count that for a high level coach like Lou Carnesecca. You know, he did go to finals for 3 years. He coached in the ABA with the Nets. So he had a little bit success there in that sense, even though his record was a little under 500 for the 3 years. But, Louis Carnesecca coached at St. John's forever. There wasn't a better like coach in sports, period, than Lou Carnesecca. There wasn't a more popular coach in sports than Lou Carnesecca. And his players thought he was a good coach. They thought he was a pretty good coach all in all. You didn't hear them say, oh, what a great coach Louis Carnesecca was. They probably thought he was a good coach who was a great guy, okay? But if you combine all the factors, Louis Carnesecca was the type of coach you'd like to play for. He can get on you, but not in the most threatening way. He'd give you some slack, but there would be discipline there as well. And, he was a little unfortunate too, very unfortunate when he had that great St. John's team in 1985, went to the Final Four. It was their misfortune to meet a great Georgetown team in the NCAA semifinals in the Final Four. And that Georgetown team was the best team in the tournament, but they did get upset by a Villanova team that shot like 80%, in the finals. So I go with Louis Carnesecca, maybe because I'm being a little nostalgic with the NCAA tournament going on now. He had the longevity, too. The longevity. The guy coached forever. The guy had good teams. The guy had good players. After his players left St. John's, they talked extremely highly of Louis Carnesecca. Those are good points, Richard, with the other names that you're naming without question. Like I said, I'm getting a little nostalgic because the NCAA tournament is at its absolute peak. If this was Super Bowl week and we weren't even thinking about the NCAA tournament, my mind would probably be geared a little towards those two names that you would just put up in the NFL. There's another name up there, the NFL, I just want to say. I don't want to steal your thunder, James, because I have a feeling you're going in that direction. Richard just put up Marv Levy, Bud Grant. They went to Super Bowls. I can make an argument Marty Schottenheimer was a greater coach than both, He never even went to a Super Bowl, let alone won it. But I'm going to be nostalgic. I'll say little Louis Carnesecca, who was very loved by everyone.
And of course, you did steal my thunder. And yes,
that was Richard. Blame our producer for putting it on the board. He set off a reaction in me. Blame Brian.
You couldn't help yourself. He couldn't help himself, Brian. But I don't care. I don't care anyway. And you're right. You think like me. I mean, we kind of think alike. I try to think about where Jack's going. I knew he's probably going to go, but I knew he's going to mention my guy. But that's okay. Look, Marty Schottenheimer is probably one of the greatest coaches to never win a Super Bowl. It's just, it seemed like bad luck was just, he just he walked by black cats, walk under ladders, whatever it may be, stepped on cracks, on the sidewalks, whatever bad luck charm that comes, it seems like it just fell on Marty Schottenheimer. I thought about Marv Levy, but I mean, he didn't win a lot of games. Of course, going to 4 Super Bowls in a row is just a massive, impressive thing to do, and a very hard thing to do. It's just hard to get to 1, let alone going to 4, but losing them all is devastating. But I also had Jerry Sloan over 1,000 games with Utah. They had opportunities to win championships. Michael Jordan was just in their way. And it's just unfortunate to not be able to get those championships.
You could have 2 choices, James. You could have 2 choices. You could use Marty Schottenheimer as the greatest coach that never got to a championship game. And then you could have one that got to a championship game. So we'll give you 2 choices if you want. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just going to stick with Marty because I just think they had the opportunity when he was with Cleveland. The bad luck 2-yard line fumble, but by Ernest Biner. I mean, they were going to try to win the game right there. I mean, it's just against Denver. They could have, and they could have got to the Super Bowl. What were you going to say?
Let me ask you, what was Marty Schottenheimer's worst loss?
Oh, it was the 2006 against. I mean, no, that's tough. I would have to say it's the Cleveland one. It's probably the Cleveland game.
You don't think New England when they were 14-2 and
they were number 1. I was going to go there. Yeah, I was going to go there. I just think that the bad luck is where it happens. I mean, the kid intercepts Tom Brady and gets strips. He gets the ball stripped out of his hands by Troy Brown, and they continue and they score a touchdown. That changed the game right there, right? Because they had the ball with 6 minutes and 35 seconds left, and they had the opportunity to just ice that game, and they couldn't. And in the last second field goal missed at 54 yards, but you don't really count your field goals. You shouldn't be dependent on your field goals here. It's really that interception should have just changed the whole game, and it did not. The momentum, as you and Keith like to go back and forth about momentum, it really shifted back to the Patriots, and that killed him. And of course, he got fired a month later and never coached football ever again. So you're right. I would have to give that being probably the worst game because that effectively ended his career. He never coached again. And but I mean, Marty, and the reason why I chose Marty Schottenheimer over like any college coach, they spend more time with his players. I mean, so I mean, I guess I could give you the argument would probably be in your favor if to say that a guy like you just mentioned, I can't think of his name. Would you say his name was the guy you picked?
Luke Hornacek.
Yeah. So someone in college, you playing with multiple different players at maybe 2 to 3 years at best, and so it's probably more successful for a coach to be that. I mean, be that good and have different players, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be more tough on a guy like Marty Schottenheimer to have players like LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Merriman, Phillip Rivers, all these guys, and to not win it's got to be a devastating thing.
Yeah. Well, in its circumstances too, one of the names I was thinking of in baseball was Buck Showalter. He was the American League Manager of the Year, the National League Manager of the Year. He got let go soon after, and both those teams would win World Series right after he left. Now, the year after Buck Showalter was let go by George Steinbrenner, and Steinbrenner thought of hiring him back right after letting him go as Yankee manager. Joe Torre comes in, and they go on this great run, winning 4 World Series in the next 5 years, going to 6 and 8 years. Joe Torre was not a successful manager, several stops before getting to the Yankees. I don't want to hear that Joe Torre made the Yankees what they were. It was I don't want to say it was overrated what he did, not at all. He did a splendid job, obviously, but they would have won with Buck Showalter the same way. That's the thing about it. But circumstances, worked for Torre. He got there at the right time, and Showalter exited, unfortunately, at the wrong time. same thing we can argue. I could ask you, James and Brian, I'd like your input. This is interesting. Had Mark Jackson stayed as coach of the Warriors, would they have had the same level of success, more or less? I don't know. I mean, I suspect they would have had the same level of success if push comes to shove. But they had to move on from Mark Jackson because of off the court issues. I understand that. You have to be nice to everyone in the building. You can't be very unpleasant, put it that way, inside the building, away from the cameras.
Coaching styles.
I was going to say the coaching styles are different, and also, I mean, just hindsight 2020. I would just have to say that Steve Kerr was probably better for them, and the championships that they won was because of him and what he's galvanized. You know how he galvanized that team together. I mean, the talent was there already and they were coming up, but you could see that maybe it's. I'm not saying it's a Tony Dungy situation and John Gruden, because I think that's a little bit different, considering that they were on the cusp. But this team didn't look like they were on the cusp with under
just one quick thing,
Mark.
And I just want to comment on the John Gruden. You mean as soon as Tony Dungy was let go as coach of the Buccaneers, they won the title in the first year under John Gruden. But they beat the Raiders in the Super Bowl. The Raiders could not get to the Super Bowl with John Gruden as their coach. So as soon as John Gruden left the Raiders, they went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So think of that. That's a wash. No one considers that.
Right. And the irony, they went to the Super Bowl against the same team that John Gruden was coaching. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I just think, I think in that situation, I think Tony Dungy would have eventually got to a Super Bowl with that team. I mean, they went to a couple of NFC championships.
Well, he won it in Indianapolis, so we know.
Right, of course.
Dungy was an excellent coach.
Right, exactly. I just think, but in this situation, I just don't think that Mark Jackson would have put them over the top, even with the talent. I think the scheme that Kerr brought made it better. That was the icing on the cake for the Warriors. It changed everything.
I'm not sure, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
Well, it's all due to coaching style anyway. Seems like I always got to come back to this point, but Rick Carlisle for the Pistons, when they kept going to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's like he could get them there, but he couldn't get it over the hump, and then his management just got tired of not getting there, so they got
Brown.
What's his face? Brown.
Larry Brown.
Yep, and Larry Brown, and then he went ahead and won a championship with them. It's just style of coaching, I think it is. That's all there is. Maybe the more of the strategic mind of a coach too could be. And
Larry, Carlisle, not to discredit him, he's a great coach. He's a great coach.
He is a great coach. But there's so many places you could go with this question, because there's so many great coaches that have never made it to the top. I picked like 6 of them out, but I'm going to stick with one, but I'm going to just tell you ones that are Paul Maurice in the NHL. Dude has been in the NHL for life, basically, and he's never won a Stanley Cup. No matter what team he's won. He's been with 4 teams. He hasn't won. Your Bobby Valentine, you should know this, Jack, your Mets. He wasn't just with the Mets, but I'm just saying he's been with a lot of teams, including the Mets.
He wasn't a great manager. He was a great baseball mind. Yeah, it's good.
He had 186. He had 1,186 victories. He was 5.
Yeah, he was a good man. He was a good man. He was a good. Bobby Valentine's a good man. Here's a disaster with the Red Sox. So, yeah.
Mark Few, Gonzaga coach. From 2001 to 2011, he won 15 conference. Well, he won 11 conference titles straight, but he's in 15. Went every year he was the coach. They went to the tournament. Never got into the Final Four. Jerry Sloan, another basketball coach, Utah Jazz, 26 years. Had a 603% winning percentage and never got to never won a
He
NBA
slipped under the
championship.
radar with me. Yeah.
Frank Beamer from Virginia Tech, he had 230 wins, didn't win any national champ. Once won one. I mean, he was in one, but they got destroyed
by Florida State, right? With
yeah,
Michael
Florida
Vick,
State,
right?
yeah. And then, of course, my pick was going to be Dan Reeves. He lost 3 Super Bowls with Denver.
He was on my
one
list
with
too.
Atlanta, and I mean, and he had a worse loss with the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, 55-10. And then he went to Atlanta, which then he had to go play the Broncos in the Super Bowl, and then got beat by the Broncos. He's like, I built this team. The audacity, y'all beat me. But, you know, Dan Reeves was a really good coach in the NFL. He just couldn't get past that Super Bowl.
Even a good coach with the Giants.
Mm-hmm. He was a good coach with Atlanta and Denver. Yeah, he had a couple places.
4 Super Bowls, 3 with Denver, 1 with Atlanta, and good job.
That's a really underrated pick. That's a really underrated pick.
Yeah. All right. Heading on to the next question. Oh, this is a good Jack question, but I'm going to go with James on this one. Should the New York Jets draft Ty Simpson with the 16th overall pick if he is available? James, what do you have on this one?
Okay, so the Jets are I think they're in a great position right now to make really good decisions, and you can you have room to make a bad one here and there because you got 9 draft picks, you got 2 first rounders, 2 seconds, no third, 2 fourths, a 5th, a 6th, and a 7, I believe, or something like that. It's just an incredible amount of draft capital plus what you have next year on top of this. This is a weak. With that being said, this is a weak quarterback draft class. I'm not going to spend any first rounder on a quarterback. You just brought Geno Smith in to be your bridge quarterback. You have Cook and as well as Zappy on the books. Why would you look at Ty Simpson, someone who is, to me, has been streaky in college? He was on a really good team with Alabama, and yet I didn't see the greatest moments. The greatest show from him in the biggest moments. It just didn't happen. And I think he had really good numbers. He had over 3,500 yards, 28 TDs, 12 interceptions. But that could be skewed. You could see, you could play in really bad teams. You're beating up bad teams. But when you're going up against the super talented teams, I didn't see the great moments. I didn't see Heisman moments, if that's the case. Not a guy I would pick at 16th. Usually when you're talking about top 20 players, there needs to be somebody that's almost generational. Usually top 10 is generational, and very good players that fall out of the top 10 would be somebody. That's goofy.
Oh, wait. I really fucking James. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So I really think that that Ty Simpson is definitely, if anything, I'll be honest with you, I might look at Carson Beck to be ahead of Ty Simpson as a potential prospect. I mean, one, he's bigger, 6'4", 220. I think he's had really good years at Georgia. Had a couple of he's had maybe some injury issues, but he did really well with Miami as well. I mean, look, they were a game away from winning a championship under Carson Beck and a very, very good defense. I just think that Ty Simpson is a bit overrated. I like Mendoza, but altogether, this quarterback class is weak. And they've had private workouts with Drew Aller and also Garrett Nussmeier. So, and don't be surprised if somebody if I'm going to take any one of those quarterbacks outside of Mendoza, it would be either in the 2nd or 3rd round. And you have 2 second-round draft picks to play with. If you have to take a quarterback this year, I'm going to say, if it were me, if I'm the GM, which I'm not, I would take a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. Because shore up your defense, start building up more players. You're probably in your first pick, you're probably going to go with David Bailey or Arvell Reese, one of those two. And so for me, at the 16th, there's another player that's going to fall somewhere, and it doesn't have to be a quarterback. I'm with Keith, wherever you are. If you're watching, Keith, I'm giving you credit here. There should be no other quarterback taken in the 1st round here outside of Mendoza. I just think that, I would definitely not take Ty Simpson here at 16.
Yeah, I'm not going to lower myself and go the opposite way of James. I agree with everything James said. It's supposed to be a debate show. Should ask me first, and maybe James would have went the other way. I'm not going to lie and say take Ty Simpson, and then as we're getting close to the draft, criticize the Jets if they do. They have no business taking Ty Simpson, number 16. I hear, oh, he stayed all those years at Alabama. He could have gone on the transfer portal elsewhere. He believes in loyalty. He's got character. I don't give a darn about the guy's character. Big Ben Roethlisberger had less character than anyone else, and he's a Hall of Famer. Give me a break. Who gives a darn? Give me Big Ben with his lack of character. Big Ben's a first-class jerk. Yet I'll take him as my quarterback anytime over these character guys. The Jets once drafted, I think it was a second-round pick at quarterback, Browning Nagel. He was very mediocre, extremely, but he was a character guy. He had a newspaper route when he was a teenager, helped support his family, wonderful human being. I don't give a darn. I mean, it's nice. I do give a darn in that respect, but not when it comes to the Jets. I don't give a darn. You know what a nice person he is. As long as the guy's not a hoodlum, I can't root for a team of hoodlums. If they're truly bad people, I'm not going to root for the Jets then. Don't get me wrong. If a guy's, I'm not going to name the type of crimes. I won't want to know from those guys. But all in all, Ty Simpson, let's say he's a good guy. He's a character guy. Wonderful individual. He's got some ability. I'm not saying he can't play in the NFL, but you're not going to take him with the 16th overall pick. The Jets are probably going to go defense with the second overall pick. Hopefully it's David Bailey. If it's not, it's going to be someone else, okay? Maybe it's going to be Reese. It's going to be Baines, maybe Caleb Downs, who knows? But and then the 16th pick, they're going to be a couple of really good wide receivers available. And they need someone to complement Garrett Wilson, and that's the way to go. I wouldn't take Tim Simpson in the second round with my two picks, 33rd and 44th. If he's somehow hanging around in the fourth round, which is possible after what happened with Shedeur Sanders last year, we never know. Yeah, maybe I take a fly on him. You have nothing to lose. And the Jets are probably going to pick one of the quarterbacks in the fourth round. The elephant in the room is next year, Trinidad Chambliss. He's going to be available coming out next year. A smart team is going to jump on him and take him. I don't think the Jets are that smart. So he's probably going to go elsewhere, Trinidad Chambliss. The Jets are going to find a way to botch it all up, even with their 3 number ones next year. But if Ty Simpson is hanging around in the fourth round, you take him. But if you take Ty Simpson earlier, just keep this in mind. You've basically given up on next year the quarterback position, drafting a quarterback, because you've invested heavily enough in him that you're counting on him to be a quarterback of the future. And I'm not giving up next year with the number of good quarterbacks who are coming out. So, no, I definitely don't take Ty Simpson in the first or the second round.
Before you go, B, I just want to say something. I see the guy's been commenting there. Let me tell you about Ty Simpson. He as well as Carson Beck, as well as Garrett Nussmeier, can ball out in college. And maybe they can make all the important throws, but they don't pop to say that you take them in the top 15, top 20. They're not there outside of Mendoza. Let's go back to the 2011 quarterback draft class. Number 1 was Cam Newton. We can look now, hindsight 2020, and say he was worth that number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
When you go back, the second quarterback that was taken was Christian Ponder at the 12th overall. No, straight bust. Jake Locker was taken at number 8th overall. He was the second, actually.
Scenario.
Terrible. Blaine Gabbert, number 10.
Yeah.
Bust.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton, 35, second round. That makes more sense. That made excellent sense to take a quarterback like him in the second round. Colin Kaepernick, number 36. He far exceeded his expectations for what he was needed. Ryan Mallett. I mean, these are the type of quarterbacks, my man, that you're talking about that didn't do anything. And these guys were taken in the top 10. Tyrod Taylor was taken at 180th overall. All those quarterbacks I just named, he played better than them as a journeyman, as 180. So it's just no guarantee. My thing is Greg McElroy taking him 208. You just got to really do your homework and make sure you look at a guy that's going to, like that's you say, can make all the throws, but that's in college. He doesn't really give you anything that's showing you. I mean, he had a team of Alabama, of high caliber team, and they didn't. And then they got lucky.
He played behind Jalen Milroe in that Alabama, and that should tell you all you need to know.
Right, exactly. My man must be an Alabama fan or something. That's got to be that.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. None of the quarterbacks that are in the draft should be going in the first round, including Mendoza. Okay? The only reason why Mendoza's up there is because he won a national championship and a Heisman. Okay? Doesn't mean he's going to be a hell of a quarterback when he's in the NFL. Doesn't mean a lot of these people are going to be what they're going to be in the NFL if you go to the first round. First round is dictated by the teams that are taking the players. It's not about the position of greatness that they're in. If a team needs a quarterback and you got a quarterback that's available, they're going to take a quarterback in the first round. It's been done. Pittsburgh's did it, and Pickett was come on. So I mean, it's based on what the teams want, not exactly what the player is. So, Raiders may get Mendoza in the first round, and because he's available, he's got all those superlatives to him, doesn't mean he's going to be a good quarterback, because there's really no quarterbacks in this draft that are that good in the first place, and they shouldn't be picked in the first round. They should be picked between second and third, fourth round picks. They shouldn't even be. There should be no quarterback talk in the first round. But because teams need quarterbacks, that's what we're going to hear. And that's what people are going to press in the press, in the media. Sports analysts are going to do this so these teams can get a quarterback. It's just bad because you got teams that get quarterbacks that don't know what to do with them. And the quarterbacks aren't fit for their offense. So it's just a crapshoot. No, I don't think that. I think what they need to do, they got Geno Smith, just build a line around him, make sure he's got enough weapons out there to throw to. And then when you get a chance to get a good quarterback, then go through that process. But at the same time, I wouldn't be spending on my first 4 picks on any quarterback.
You do not build around Geno Smith. Please, Brian, please. Geno Smith, this is his 1 year. Let him enjoy.
You ain't going to be building around Ty Simpson or Chambliss or Mendoza. You're not going to build around them type of quarterbacks.
Smith.
Come on, Jack.
Geno Smith
You're up there with the smoke dream, man.
Quarterback.
This is why the Jets do this all the time. This is why the Jets have this problem. Instead of building what they got, they always try to go out there for a flair and it doesn't ever work. And this is the reason why they're in the position that they're in. They need to start building.
Are willing to flip-flop 1 and 2 with the Jets, and the Jets don't have to give up too much, I would do that, and I would draft Mendoza if I were the Jets, even though there might be some great quarterbacks next year. I think Mendoza is going to be good enough to be a quality starting quarterback going forward.
Yeah. That's time's got to tell. I just don't think there's any quarterback in this draft that should be a first-round pick. But it's going to happen because there's going to be a quarterback-needy team out there that's just going to pick one. And that's just the way the NFL is. Not to say that he's going to be good, and then everybody's going to blame the quarterback when he's not good because he got picked number 1. Well, that's not his fault. That's the team who picked him's fault. So,
well, both of you have to look at it. I mean, it's ultimately when you pick it in the top 5, these are all bad teams. And so at the same time, you gotta build, but at the same time, like just keep responding to this guy. You gotta let the team. I mean, you got to look at the team and see where your draft picks are, where the value is. I'm not going to take a quarterback that doesn't. I mean, if anything, for the most part, unless it's a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, he was taking number 11th or 12th overall. You're not going to see no guy that falls in a 15 and 20s, and you pick him around there at 16. That should be. I mean, they're going to be taken closer to the top 10. They're going to be taken closer to the top 10. It's just what it is. And most of those teams are in the top need. Who is it? The Dolphins need a quarterback, even though they got Malik Willis. The Raiders need a quarterback. Jets need a quarterback. But there's nobody that I'm just saying that's going to fit the bill when you have other needs as well. You're going to take a player that you can plug and play immediately and give you some game, because most quarterbacks that are falling in that latter stage, they should sit. So I'm not going to say that you want to take a quarterback like Simpson, Nussmeier, or Beck in the first. I mean, I think the value for Simpson will probably be better in the second round. I'm going to take one of these. I mean, this is already a weak draft class, so I'm not going to take a quarterback outside of Mendoza because he's going first overall. And where I can get some other player or wide receiver. Like, I think for the Jets, maybe a Mekhi Lemon is probably going to fall. Yeah. Or a Jordan Tyson is a guy that you probably want to put in that place. And they're going to play immediately.
Exactly. Right, at 16, either one of those two guys. I prefer Lemon, but either one of those two guys. Maybe Cornell Tate falls to 16. You don't know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you got to look at it like this, Jack. The team's got to build. I know y'all, you have this big thing about Geno Smith, but you have a quarterback in place that's a veteran. Just build. I'm not saying build around him, but make him be great. In other words, and increase his positivity by putting players around him that he can throw to, give the ball to, block for him and everything like that. Then when you get a chance to get a good quarterback, whether it's via draft or maybe a free agent comes available or you trade for a quarterback, that quarterback will be put in that position where he'd be able to succeed even better in that offense. So I'm not saying that Geno is your guy of the future. We all know that's not happening, but at least let him have pieces around him so he can be successful until you get to that point. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be spending my picks on no quarterback, not in this draft, because there's not any worth it. And it just, but it's going to happen because somebody's going to pick a quarterback because they need a quarterback. So that's just the way.
Well, the next thing, Ty Simpson, I predict will go to Arizona.
Yeah, maybe.
What round?
I think they might trade up to get him late in the first round. Right before the Jets go in the second. They might be scared the Jets will take them. That's just my thought.
All right. Yeah. You could say that to Jack. Jack will agree with you probably. All right. Here's one that's near and dear to James. Isaiah Thomas says that the Chicago Bulls would have won the same amount of championships with Kevin Durant had he been on the team instead of Michael Jordan. Do you agree? Jack, go ahead.
Yeah.
First off, you never know. The one year that Jordan, the full year that he played baseball, they had a very successful regular season. They won twice as many as they lost, the Chicago Bulls. And then in the playoffs, they lost a little bit controversially to the Knicks. I mean, obviously having Jordan that year would have made a difference and they would have won the NBA title that year. I can't, I'm humid by Isaiah. I'm really humid by Isaiah because this is really, Isaiah, you see him on all these shows now, talking about who the greatest player is of all time, building up a case for LeBron James. This is Isaiah's tour to get back at Jordan because he was left off the Dream Team. And Jordan was indirectly responsible, for Isaiah being off the Dream Team because everyone knew Jordan couldn't stand Isaiah. And if anyone couldn't stand Isaiah more than Jordan at that time of the Dream Team, it was Magic Johnson, who absolutely hated his former best friend. because he got betrayed by Isaiah. Make no mistake about it, John Magic couldn't stand Isaiah. Larry Bird harbored no ill feelings about that remark about him being just another white guy. And I think Isaiah took a bum rap in that. I'm going to defend Isaiah in that. He just laughed, and I think it was taken a little out of context, but it left a bad impression. James, we've discussed a debate question, the most vicious foul ever given in the NBA, the most hateful, was Karl Malone on Isaiah. I wonder why. Isaiah was the victim of the most vicious foul. Scottie Pippen said straight out he didn't want to play with Isaiah on the Dream Team. He couldn't stand him. Isaiah's own coach, Chuck Daly, wasn't advocating for Isaiah. His own coach was playing golf with Jordan all the time. So this is Isaiah's way, legacy. He's hurt. Rejection is a terrible thing in any way, shape, or form in life. And as the years went by, it sunk into Isaiah. I'm off the Dream Team. I don't have to make nice to Jordan. And Isaiah's going all over. He feels he's owed an apology for being called an a-hole by Jordan. Jordan never called him an a-hole. Jordan said he was acting like one the way he walked off the court. James could say something I'm saying is dumb. That's fair game. I'm not going to come back and demand James apologizing for calling me dumb. There's a difference involved saying that's a dumb thing you said, as opposed to calling someone dumb or whatever. Same thing, but let's get to the point. I can't help myself. Like Isaiah can't help himself. I can't help myself, when it comes to Isaiah. I'm partly human, partly fascinated by Isaiah. I kind of enjoy watching him try to build his case, but it's done out of hurt. Kevin Durant, look at all his stats. It's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. He had success at OKC, took him to the finals the first time with a dysfunctional Russell Westbrook. That's a plus for Durant. Durant went to the Nets, went to the Warriors, I mean. The Warriors were winners without him. And at the time he was at the Warriors, we thought Durant was a better player than Steph Curry. But as it turns out, I give Steph Curry a little edge. If you ask me who's a greater player, it could go either way. In all fairness, it could go either way. You give me either guy. They're both great. But Golden State had all this success without Durant. And of course, they had success with Durant. He was the two-time MVP in large part because Steph Curry is the most unselfish superstar in sports. He was willing to take a step back. No ego on that guy, Steph Curry. Amazing. And by the way, James, maybe we should, you're stat guy. I don't know the stats, but Isaiah likes to point out why LeBron James is better than Jordan. And he might be based on stats, I wonder how Steph Curry's stats match up to Isaiah's, because Isaiah made it clear not long ago how much better he thought he was than Steph Curry. He's like no contest. He laughed it off. I would guess, and I don't know, I didn't look it up, it popped into my head now, that Steph Curry has better stats than Isaiah if you looked it up. I'm not certain about it, but I believe that would be the case. But then Durant leaves to go to the Nets. Bad luck, guys, because Kyrie Irving and James Harden were injured. They could have beat the Bucks in those finals. They lost in 7 games and then maybe won an NBA title. And look at the way it would have elevated Durant's greatness. He had bad luck, Durant. He goes to Phoenix. They're better. He was terrible with Phoenix. The team was. Phoenix is so much better off without Durant, the deal they made with Houston. So he was a big negative at Phoenix. Now he goes to Houston, and Houston is the same as they were before. Durant is great. They won those 6 championships. If they had Durant instead of Jordan, they would have won a few championships. I don't think they would have won 6. They would have won maybe 4, maybe 5, but as little as 1 championship counts for an awful lot. Keep that in mind. I don't think they would have won 6. Oh, and for what it's worth, if Isaiah wants to know, Kevin Durant says without a doubt Michael Jordan was the greatest player of all time. If Durant once walked into like some store and he heard fans talking, and someone asked him, who's better, LeBron or Jordan? He says, are you crazy? Like he said, of course Jordan's better. Like he was like, what kind of question is that? So Durant absolutely idolizes Jordan's greatness. So Isaiah's wrong, but maybe not by a lot, because they could have maybe won 4 or 5 titles had he been on the Bulls. I don't know. Maybe they would have won only 3 with Durant and Pippen, but maybe they would have won 6. Maybe they would have won the same 6. Who knows?
Okay. As usual, Jack is always riding the fence. He wants to dominate both sides and make sure he has the answer, or at least a foot on one side of the fence, so he could say, I knew that already. I knew part of it. Look, Kevin Durant physically is a specimen that's unique. He's not big, but I mean, when I say he's big, I mean in girth. He's a very slender fella, but he's 6'11", and he's got a wingspan of that's 7 foot. That's hard to dominate and he can shoot your lights out. I mean, he's the fastest player to get to where he is in points right now. He's overtaken Jordan as far as the points recently, and so I think that's why this discussion about him is coming up. He's a better shooter than Jordan. He's a much better shooter than Jordan. I'm going to say Jordan, to everybody that's out there watching, is number 1 all time in my book. He's the greatest player to ever play the game. And that's just purely off will and talent. He had talent as well. But I think Isaiah might have a point here. He may have a point here. If you take the Phil Jackson, the triangle, Horace Grant, you take Scottie Pippen and keep them on a team, and you have a shooter like Kevin Durant on the team, yes, better range shooter, absolutely. And if you have KD on that team with those players, with Kerr, with Paxton, all those guys and the different players, Luke Longley, what's the guy's name? The Italian guy, I can't think of his name.
Luke Longley.
No. The guy later on, he became one of their players. And then, of course, Dennis Rodman. If you have all these players.
Guy, not Tony Kukoc.
No, I'm sorry. No, he's not Italian. Tony Kukoc. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the Italian guy, I don't know.
Sorry, yes. But Tony Kukoc, KD would have been great with these players. I just think that, wow. I really thought St. John was going to win that game. But I think KD, with his size, would have been dominant and what he can do as far as a shooter. Now, mind you, he probably couldn't go up the middle and deal with the Jordan rules, because I think Jordan was the guy that just showed that he's going to get better. He's going to beat the Pistons. He's going to beat the Boston Celtics. He's going to beat these other teams, the Knicks, that beat him up pretty much and got better. He got stronger in the gym. Physically, I think KD would be unable to do that. He just wouldn't be able to handle that. But at the same time, you wouldn't use KD the same way you would use Michael Jordan. You would use, I think Phil Jackson would make sure that his strengths would be exploited there. And so, I mean, as being, like my man said, a better range shooter, it just changes the whole game. It changes the defenses, how defenses have to play you. So I think there's a possibility they win 4 or 5, 6 championships with those players that you have, that I just mentioned, the aforementioned players that I mentioned. So it's not too far-fetched. And I love Isaiah. Sometimes he can be a little bit off kilter with some of the comments that he has, because he has a bitter rivalry with Jordan, and he has a pure hatred for him. But that being said, he's still one of the greatest players, and he still has some of the best commentary that he presents with facts. You know, he just said, I beat these guys. I beat Michael Jordan. I beat the Celtics. I beat the Lakers. And they did. So as the Pistons did. And so this being said as well, with KD, it's a possibility. I mean, I get it. He's playing in an era that's totally different defensively. KD is, but I just think that how physically gifted he is, it will be still difficult for him, because some of those guys back then, again, not to discredit them, they're not as athletically gifted as some of the players now. I mean, not some, not all. I mean, trust me, somebody like Charles Barkley, probably, to me, if it wasn't for Tim Duncan, probably known as the best power forward ever at 6'4". So it's just, yeah, I think KD might have an opportunity to win in that time. And I just don't know for sure if it's 6 championships. It could, I mean, it could have been, but we'll never know that, will we?
No, this Isaiah. This. I'm not going to even entertain this quote.
I love Isaiah. We're
first
gonna
of
have
all,
more Isaiah in future shows.
more
I
Isaiah.
like
You know,
Isaiah.
I don't want no more of this type of Isaiah, okay? Because he's just being ridiculous. He just hates Jordan. That's all there is to it. This is a comment of hate. This is not a comment of fact,
But it's
because you don't know what's going to
Brian.
happen.
It is thought-provoking, though, what he says.
Sure.
So, Isaiah is an intelligent
I think so.
guy. He is
Yes,
an intelligent guy.
highly intelligent.
I'll put it to you this way: highly intelligent doesn't mean you can't say stupid stuff. Okay,
No,
you can say
for
stupid
sure.
stuff out of emotion. Out of
For sure.
emotion, you can say stupid stuff, and this is an emotional comment. This is not a intelligent comment. It is an emotional comment because he does not like Michael Jordan. Most of the comments that he makes about Michael Jordan is because of disdain. It has nothing to do.
But this isn't a
actual
stupid
facts.
question, though. This isn't a stupid question, though, B. It's not stupid.
I don't. I'm sorry. Michael Jordan is great because, yes, he doesn't have all the stats that you need to be had. He's not the pure form.
Oh, he's got a lot of great stats. He's got a lot of great stats out there.
Hold on a minute. Michael Jordan is great because of his will of the game. If he has the ball with the last minutes and the line, you're giving it to Michael Jordan because he wants to win. That dude wants to win. Kevin Durant wants to win when he's on a winning team. That's the difference. The mindset and the mentality of the two men are different. So no, Kevin Durant wouldn't have that mentality on the Chicago Bull team that Michael Jordan had on it. So no, I don't think that would ever happen.
Disagree with that. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, look at the evidence.
Doesn't mean anything if you don't have the will.
So you telling me even though his foot was on the line when he played for the Nets, he didn't have the will to shoot that last shot and shoot it? And just barely.
He was the only
How many games can you compare that to any of
the Exactly. He didn't put it in nobody else's hand. Put it in my hand. I didn't have anybody. Like you said, he still had the will to try to win. He just, unfortunately, his foot was on the line. That changed everything about that game. It just tore the line. You can't tell me KD don't have any will. That's not true. I mean, you don't get to be.
Will. He doesn't have as much will as Michael Jordan did.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying. But playing with the talent of Jordan couldn't do it without Scottie Pippen. He couldn't do it. And he even said this. He still can't. I mean, Kobe Bryant had all the willpower that he wanted and still couldn't win without some better players around him. Everybody has to have a team.
Wait. I'm going to go to Brian's point and defend them. 2 instances. You mentioned Kobe had all the willpower. Kobe battled Shaq tooth and nail to see who would be the guy on that team. Okay.
No, I mean afterwards. I mean after Shaq was gone. They fell.
Not battle Russell Westbrook tooth and nail. If Jordan was on OKC, it wouldn't be 50-50 him and Russell Westbrook. Jordan would have imposed his will and been 1, and Westbrook would have been 1A, like the Bulls were with Pippen and Jordan. Okay, but Durant backed off. He wasn't going to take on Westbrook head on. That's what Brian means, imposing your will, I think.
I mean,
no, for sure.
We all know that people need players on their team to win championships. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that Durant went because he went from OKC to Golden State because Golden State was whooping OKC's behind. And that's the kind of thing I don't like about players. I'm going to go to this team. If I can't beat them, I might as well join them mentality. Michael Jordan didn't have that mentality. He was going to beat you, period. On the Chicago Bulls. He was going to stay on the Chicago Bulls and beat you. This is what he did to the Pistons. He just kept doing it until of course he got Scottie Pippen. He had to have players around him. But when he finally did that, he took it to the Pistons. And he was taking it to the Pistons ever since that point. So that's what I'm saying. And this is the reason why I think Kevin Durant instead of Michael Jordan. I'm not saying Kevin Durant wouldn't win championships with that team, but I don't think he would win all 6. I think Michael Jordan had put that in his mind. He's a winner. He ain't losing anything. That's all. I'm just saying that. When you look at it from the point of the player going from one team that can't beat the other team just to satisfy a whole point. And like to Jack's point, Golden State was already a championship team. Durant was an additive, and he won a championship with them. But when he left, they won a championship with him. So
they weren't technically, Brian. They won 73 games the year before, and then they lost in 7, to the Cavaliers. Mm-hmm. But a 73-win record-setting team, that's the same as going to a championship team.
And the crazy thing about that season is that they were down 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals, the Warriors, and they came back and won. But yet they lost the same way in the championship in the finals to the Cavaliers in 2016.
All right, real quick here, this last question. Should coaches be forced to speak to the television commentators during the game or at halftime? Go ahead, James. I knew Jack was going to put this as a question too.
Oh my goodness. I do think they should, because you're not going to get the answer that you want to hear from the coaches. But one thing you can tell, if you're somebody that's shrewd, if a great coach is sitting there, they're losing, body language is everything. I think body language is what you will get out of them. You can tell a lot of times if somebody's pissed, they're going to be pissed, and they still might give you a BS answer. Just like it's just shrouded with all kind of stuff. They're not going to tell what the other team or opposition what they're actually going to try to do in their game plan. That's just dumb. So we all know that that's not going to happen. But what you do want to see, if I'm the fan, if I'm somebody, I want to see if the other team's getting under their skin. I want to see if they're not upset, if they're excited, if they want to come back, if they're winning and they want to just dominate this other team. You can usually see that in the coach's behavior in the discussion when they're talking to the commentator. But for the most part, it's just dumb. I know Jack's probably going to say that too as well. It doesn't make any sense for them to do that. It's probably a waste of time. But to me, that's the only reason I can see why it should be there, because that's what you as a fan who's watching the game want to at least see. Especially if it's your team that they're interviewing and you're losing, you want to see where this coach is at, because you're not going to go in the locker room. You're not going to hear a halftime speech. You're not going to hear anything that they're going to give in the locker room, which is I would love to be a fly on the wall in locker rooms to find out what a coach is saying to his team if they're getting blasted and how they look to respond. But you're not going to get that. So at least you want to see what this person is going to do to prepare to get themselves in there at that. Now, talking during the game, I see that. I don't know. I can let that fly. I don't need the person, the commentator, talking to a coach during the game. But halftime, for sure, I think it's most important to do that.
It's all about entertainment. Where the XFL under Vince McMahon missed the boat? They tried to make it about football, smash mouth football. Smash mouth football went out the window like 60, 70 years ago. No one gave a darn about it anymore. And what they should have done, the XFL, was have Stone Cold Steve Austin march into the locker room at halftime, angry the team is down, and then the coach orders him out and he gives the coach a stunner and say, I'm taking over the coaching now, and they march out with him. The ratings would have been off the wall. I would have watched all the games. I would have watched every moment. So dumb of McMahon, who was a genius otherwise in marketing. They had no idea. No one gave a darn about their football, the XFL. It's about entertainment. Look, if you have a coach like Coach Pop when he coached, he liked doing that halftime stuff. He was funny. He would joke back with the commentator. It would be humorous. Look at the body language of all these coaches, especially who are at halftime have to speak. The moment the interview ends, they start running to the locker room. They can't get out of there quick enough. And they're never giving us anything revealing, like James said. What are they going to say? We've got to tighten up the defense if they've given a lot of points. If it's football, well, we've got to guard a little better against the pass, We've got to move the chains better. We've got to get our running game going. Nothing revealing at all. Don't torture these guys. They got to get in the locker room with their team. They don't want to be there. And they're not entertaining us at all. So no, let it go. Make it optional before the game. Check with the coach during the week. Are you willing to come on halftime to talk or not? And if they don't want to, fine. They don't have to. Some of them are going to come on and they're going to say something quickly, or check with their ownership whether it should be a requirement or not, or the ownership of the teams. I just think it's a waste of time, and it's unfair to these coaches, and in certain instances the players as well. Even though the players are more receptive to it, I'm thinking more the coaches.
Yeah, I could probably do without during the game and halftime, to tell you the truth, because you really don't see what do we know most coaches for? Their post-game shows. No, not their halftime shows, not their in-game responses, but the post-game. That's when the coaches come out of them. That's when coach speak comes out of them. So I'd rather see that. I could care less about it. I mean, you're going to make adjustments at halftime. You're going to give some kind of condescending answer anyway to the reporter. So it doesn't make a difference anyway. I mean, Rick Pitino, like yesterday, Rick Pitino had a joke with one of the reporters in the game because, he's like, oh, my guy made a three-pointer and that hasn't happened in a long time. So, I mean, that kind of stuff is humorous if it's laughable, but I mean, do we really need? We don't need to do that. I want to see them play. I want to see the players play. I want to see the coaches coach them players, and I think that's thing that's taken away from the game because those coaches are like, damn, can I coach the team? I need to get in this huddle and coach these guys. I need to go to the locker room and coach these guys because we got things we gotta clean up, whether you're winning or losing. So I just it don't bother me either way. It's not something that's gonna go off my radar. I mean, if they got rid of it, I wouldn't even notice, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, Keith Engel was upset because of the Yankee game. Their second baseman Chaz Chisholm was interviewed on camera while the game's going on. But that's entertaining.
That's why I know you're gonna get that question.
But the players like it. The players like it for some reason during the game, as long as it doesn't affect them and they don't lose concentration and make an error. It's all good then, and that situation like that. I'm thinking more the coaches who just want to get to the locker room and they don't want to be left behind on the field.
And on that note, that will bring close to this day of Sports Debate Show. We will see you again tomorrow. Well, we'll see you again tomorrow at 8, but we also see you next Saturday at 8 for the Sports Debate Show. Everybody out there, have a great day. Thank you for joining. Thanks for all the comments. Peace.